or wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me for the next hour to hype up the huge $200 contest on DraftKings tonight, our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm pretty good. Avery is giving Tyler the absolute death stare for not letting him do the countdown today. Tyler.
I mean, maybe that's going to be the thing that keeps you from banking that 100K tonight. Could you imagine? Maybe that's just putting some bad vibes out in the air.
You can count us out, Avery. How about that at the end? You can count us out.
Okay, we'll do that then. We'll have Avery count us out towards the end. But as I did mention, there is a monster contest on DraftKings tonight. They usually have a couple of these every year. This one is $200 to enter. I think it's 58 or 60 max or something like that.
Yeah, close to 60 max. Absolute circus.
Yeah, and 100K to first place. It's one of the biggest NHL tournaments of the year. There are going to be a lot of people watching this that are in it. Lots of our subscribers are going to be in it. So we're going to take our time and talk about this slate. Just want to give a special shout out to Yahoo Fantasy. They are our sponsor for today's show, and they have been our sponsor all season long. We have a very nice giveaway from Yahoo Fantasy a little bit later in the show. So if you're new to DFS, if you don't want to quite plunk down $1,200 worth of entries or whatever it is tonight in that $200, if you want to play for a little bit less, stay away from the Sharks. We do have a nice giveaway from Yahoo Fantasy a little bit later. If you guys in the chat could please throw us a thumbs up and throw us a subscribe. Really helps us look good for our bosses, and we'll keep those subscriptions coming. The road to 420,000 subscriptions continues, and click that bell to get alerts when we do go live. We have some winners to talk about because we haven't had a show since Saturday morning. So we've had 5 slates since then to talk about. I'm sure I'm going to miss someone. But Jake, our boss, Jake Harry, took down the $15, I believe it was on Saturday or Sunday. Took down the $15. He had said he had been going through a little bit of a tough stretch over the prior month. So it was nice to see him come through. And I think last night, if I'm not mistaken, he took down the $33 single entry over on FanDuel. I think it was the $33.
But yeah, it was the $33 goal. He beat me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
and then
third in that.
yeah, and then Hofbrau, who banked his second Fantasy World Hockey Championship ticket last week. He banked at least one slate on Saturday. I know he took down the afternoon slate, or on Monday, sorry. He took down the afternoon slate on Monday, yesterday afternoon, for 5K. I think he said I saw him say he took down last night's slate as well, but I didn't see a screenshot or anything like that. So I don't want to shout that out.
Not grease the tires.
Yeah, not knowing exactly what happened, but he took down at least the afternoon slate. Wolf Girl took down a dime time as well. And then I saw Chris Negus, our boy Nego, took down the afternoon one-timer over on DraftKings as well. So pretty good day for the Awesemo crew yesterday as a whole, and it was a good weekend overall. Anything you want to touch on real quick, because this is a very important slate that we got to talk about here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, without fail, every time one of these sites runs a big GPP, the slate is an absolute circus. And this one's just, there's no McDavid, Matthews, McKinnon, anything like that, but it's just there's just huge home totals. And the teams that are coming in on the road, they're just a mess. And it's just these the line combination, this slate is just absolutely just. I have a headache. It just gave me a headache.
Yeah, I finished my notes for the show about an hour ago, and since then I've added 3 players that are either game time decisions or might be returning tonight. And then you have all the back-to-backs. You have Buffalo on a back-to-back. You have Los Angeles on a back-to-back. You have Montreal on a back-to-back. We got word about a pretty big COVID protocol announcement from Vancouver just before we came on the air as well. So there is a lot of news that we're going to have to pay attention to for the rest of the day, because there were so many teams that played yesterday that do play today. There aren't going to be those morning skates or game day skates or what have you. Maybe we'll get a coach's meeting or something like that in about 3 or 4 hours time, but that's about the best we're going to get. We may not get firm line combinations. So there is going to be news to pay attention to. If you are a subscriber here at Awesemo, please pay attention to the Discord. There is going to be some news leading up to lock for sure. But let's get to these games. We do have some games to talk about. Once again, if you guys could just throw us a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about some of the stuff that we have up on the site, we talk about free premium tools and data all the time. Our NHL top stacks are up on the site today. So if you hear us talk about top stack percentage or stack ownership share or leverage or anything like that, you can check out our NHL top stacks over at awesemo.com. They are free for today for anybody to go and check out. And if you're playing NBA or PGA, we have some stuff to help you out there as well. We have NBA player rankings and we have PGA golfer rankings. So lots of stuff, free premium tools and data up on the site for anybody playing NBA, PGA, or NHL. And I imagine if you're watching the show, you're going to be interested in those top stacks. So let's talk about some of those top stacks by talking about this first game. We have the Carolina Hurricanes with a 2.7 implied goal total. They're going into Boston. The Boston Bruins have a 3.0 implied goal total. Carolina is going to be without Martin Necas, and that has moved Nino Niederreiter up to the second line for Carolina. And in his place, Steven Laurent has moved up to the third line with Jesper Fast and Jordan Staal. There hasn't been much of a sample, at all over the years with Trocheck, Svechnikov, and Niederreiter playing together. It's just not something that they've done a lot of. So I don't know how that line is going to perform. I assume fairly well because Trocheck and Svechnikov have done well together, but it is a very tough matchup on the Boston side, and that's why you're seeing Carolina with a 2.6 total, despite the fact that they're one of the 5 or 6 best teams in hockey. Could be something to play up and down both lineups if you like either of the lineups. What do you like here, Josh?
I like Boston 1. It feels kind of weird. Like, I don't like to stack Boston 1 without Pastrnak, but like he's 8,300 playing on the second line. The thing is, like, Carolina does take a bunch of penalties, so if you want a power play stack, that doesn't make sense. But like the thing that really draws me to Boston 1 is how high event that Carolina top line is with Jarvis there. Like they're at like a 45% shot share in their sample together. It's a pretty small sample, but they're also giving up like 15 high danger chances per 60. And you're gonna give Bergeron. And I know we make fun of Marchand. He's a punk. He's got a big nose, whatever. He's like a really good hockey player. So you give these guys those chances with Leaky Freddie and that, Boston coming in around 4 or 5%, possibly getting, 3 to 5 power plays. Like, I really like Boston 1. You want to add in Pastrnak instead of Craig Smith. That gets really pricey, but you can do it. There are some value lines tonight if you want. If you want to go down to Boston 2, I guess that's all right. But like, I just, I'm not super thrilled about, you do get the 2 guys on power play, one in Hall and Pastrnak. I just, Eric Hall, it is what it is. Like, they're coming in, 16-5, and there are other lines from 16 to like 18K that I'd much rather play than Boston 2. So I think I'm going to stick to Boston 1. Maybe add in some Pastrnak. And on the Carolina side, it's probably going to be Carolina 2. Niederreiter moving there instead of Necas doesn't really worry me too much. I don't want to, as much as I want to play Aho, I don't want to go into the Bergeron matchup. I'm going to dip down to that second line. It's much cheaper anyway. They get the Hall Pastrnak matchup. It's a little bit softer, but still in like 1 to 3, I don't think I'm going to have much Carolina in MME. Once, getting to 20 to 150, it's probably going to be Carolina 2.
Carolina, I'm having a real tough time with here because, like you said, going into that top line Boston matchup, that's just a meat grinder. And then Carolina 2, I would have some interest in, but again, like, we just don't have a sample with Nino Niederreiter, and it kind of feels fishy just to slam in some Carolina 2 with a 2.6 total on the road. You know what I mean? And, I see them with good leverage. That's basically the one thing that's drawing me here is there's going to be no ownership on Carolina, right? Like, you might have 1% on either of the lines. So, if you're playing your 150 maxes or something like that, I would absolutely probably get either Carolina 1 or Carolina 2. I think Carolina 2 would be in the better matchup because Boston's second line for as good as they are offensively, they've been roughly average, maybe a little bit better than average defensively, but like a little bit better than average is not considerably better than average like the top line is. So I think that second line can kind of be had. So, Svechnikov, Trocheck, two-man or something like that, I think is just fine from the Carolina side. I agree with you. I think this is a Boston 1 game. It's coming down to Carolina's penalty taking. Like, they still are one of the most penalized teams in the NHL. And I get that they probably have the best penalty kill in the NHL by the same token. But, if you're going to give Boston 3 or 4 or 5 power plays in this game, I like their chances of at least getting one here. So I do like that Boston top line here in this game. I'd like Carolina too as well. But I'm going to be honest. I think I'm 20 maxing tonight, and neither of these teams are near the top of my priority list. I think Carolina more than Boston for me. On the blue line, I wrote up Charlie McAvoy in the Power Plays article this morning. One reason being his price is very reasonable over on DraftKings. It's 5,400. And he's a guy that can kind of, he can get you a shot bonus, or he can get you a block bonus, or he can get you a point bonus because the power play is really clicked or something, right? So I think, a 5,400 Charlie McAvoy is not a 6,300 Charlie McAvoy or something like that, right? Like, it seems like he could be fine as a one-off here. Jacob Slavin back for Carolina on the other side. Not sure there's a lot that interests me for them. What do you like here for defenseman, Josh?
I think it's really like McAvoy or a Carlo punt, maybe Mike Riley punt, and not too much on the Carolina side. Like Slavin, I guess, is okay, 4,300. I don't know if I'd go there. Like Shea, 4,200 is too expensive. Pesci, 3,900 doesn't really interest me. Tony D, I'd only play in a power play stack, but like don't really want to power play stack the Hurricanes side in the slate, so I'm probably going to be out on the Hurricane defenseman.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's move it along then. Our next game is Buffalo going into Ottawa. The Buffalo Sabres have a 2.6 total. Ottawa has a 3.4 implied goal total. Tage Thompson is not expected to be, well, not expected. He won't be in the lineup for Buffalo here today. He was held up at the border for a COVID test. You're going to see a lot of that over the next few months. That's just kind of the way it is in the NHL. But he's not playing. And something we talked about when he was out on the actual COVID list was like, when he's out, they don't really have a center that can play his role, right? Like, you can try to stuff Dylan Cousins into a shutdown role, but I think there's a reason why they took him out of that role as the season wore on. It's that he's not really ready for that. And I know Ottawa's not necessarily a team that has great shot or expected goal share numbers on their own, but Buffalo without Tage Thompson looks like a severely weakened team. And then you throw in the fact that it's Michael Hauser starting and it's a back-to-back on the road. It seems like there's a lot of reason why there are a lot of reasons why Ottawa is coming in amongst our most highest owned lines, whether it's the top line or the second line.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, the auto lines suck.
The man raises a good point. I'm sorry, they do.
They suck. Like, you want to play Kachuk Norris, it's fine. Third wheel Tyler Ennis, good luck. Stutzler, Batherson, Nick Paul, like, not too bad for min price. Like, that is okay. We'll forgive him. What did they massacred my boy? They put Formenton down on the fourth line. Anyway, we don't have enough time for me to go on a Formenton rant, but Norris Kachuk together, they have an almost 900-minute sample. Like, it's a massive, massive sample. They're underwater. The thing is, though, who are the Buffalo Sabres? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to stop them? This game is a circus. Like, what? Like, this top line's coming in at 20%. They're shooting pretty much 20%. They got min-price Tyler Ennis. They're facing, like, what do you do? Literally, I don't even know who Michael Hauser. I thought it was Neil Patrick Harris. Like, it was a Neil Patrick Harris joke, like Doogie Howser. I didn't even know who Michael Hauser was until like 3 hours ago. I don't know what to do because they're coming in like 18, 19% the top line, but the matchup's going to be elite. The goalie is Aaron Dell's backup, which means he's the 38th string goalie. No Tage Thompson. Like, if you took away ownership and you just tell me you want to play Ottawa 1 here tonight, I'll say yeah. But like you factor in that Norris Kachuk aren't that great together. You factor in the ownership, and what do? Like if you have one lineup, it's just a miserable thing. If you're max entering, yeah, you're going to have some Ottawa 1, you're going to have some Ottawa 2. I think I prefer to have Ottawa 2 just because they're cheaper. Stutzler and Bathurst still don't have great numbers together. But like at least Stutzler was a rookie last year or 2 years ago, right? Like Norris Kachuk have been together for 900 minutes. That's a massive sample. That's like crazy. So I think like the matchups don't really matter. Like both of these top 6 lines are in great matchups, but I think, I'll dip down to Paul Stutzler, Batherson, just because you get 2 guys on power play 1, just like the top line. You get less ownership, and you save a little bit of money to get other lines in. Like the matchup doesn't really matter from the Sabres. So if you want to play Ottawa 1, that's perfectly fine. For me, I think if I get to Ottawa in my 1 lineup, which I'm not sure what I'm doing yet, I haven't even tried building yet, it's going to be Ottawa 2. And then on the Buffalo side, like I kind of want. I was like coming into this going, yeah, all the ownership's going to be on Ottawa. I want to play Buffalo 1, but Tage Thompson is locked in the airport for 2 weeks. Now they don't have really good lines, so maybe some Skinner Tuck, but that's about it.
That's the problem. Is like I went into this morning, started writing my power plays article, wanting to play Buffalo 1 here tonight because you have seen such bad numbers on the Ottawa top line. Like we talk about bad numbers, that, like you said, the reason they're doing so well is because their shooting percentage is sky high. They're only controlling like 42 or 43% of the shots when they're on the ice. They're not a very good line. This second line is actually really interesting to me, and I'm glad you brought them up because somebody brought up Bathurst and Tim Stutzler. They actually played a fair amount together last year because that Ottawa top line wasn't put together basically until the last 5 or 6 games of the season. So Stutzler and Bathurst did play a fair amount together. And in their sample, they're controlling 56% of the scoring chances with, 51, 52% of the shots. Like that's good, especially on a team that's, floating around 45, 46% most of the time. So I'm with you. I can definitely get behind Ottawa 2 here tonight. Like you said, it's just they're coming in very much over-owned because it is a great matchup. It is a cheap price. Stutzler, Batherson going to get, at least Batherson going to get those prime power play minutes. I agree with you on Ottawa 2. I just think you're going to, if you're single entry or something like that, you're going to have to find a way to get unique because they are very popular. So, maybe you throw Thomas Chabot in on the blue line or something like that. And in fact, let's talk about defensemen. Is that something that you might do here to get a little bit different? Is just full stack Ottawa 2 and then add Chabot? Or is that maybe getting, trying to get too perfect, on a slate like this?
I think what I would, if I'm going to go Ottawa 2, I'd probably leave Nick Paul off and add Chabot on just to go 3-man power play 1 there. But, Chabot's going to be chalky as well. He's in a great spot. So it really comes down to how you build. If you're worried about being duped, get a little bit different. If you're not really worried about it, like Ottawa 2 plus Chabot is fine. Ottawa 1 plus Chabot is fine. Like you don't have to have Chabot, but I think adding them in will lower the cumulative ownership on your Senators.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. All right, let's move it along. Get access to all the great Awesemo Plus tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, our top stacks, our lineup builder, our Discord, and a whole lot more. And of course, if you're only looking to play NHL DFS, then you can sign up for one of our Awesemo Plus NHL packages for as low as $3.95 a week. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. All right, we got to move this along. Let's get to this next game. Winnipeg, 2.8 implied goal total. They're going into Washington. The Caps have a 3.3 implied goal total. We have some Washington news to pass along. I mean, John Carlson's still on the COVID list, so Justin Schultz expected to run the top power play unit. TJ Oshie I don't know what's going on with him. Like this seems like the Rope hints from last year, right? Where Oshie plays 2 games, comes out for 1, plays a game, comes out for 3, plays 4 games, comes out for 2 weeks. Like I have no idea what's going on with that guy.
It's probably one of those core muscle things. You know what I mean? It's like a pain tolerance thing that needs surgery.
Yeah, that's probably, you know what? Like I wish guys, like this team's making the playoffs, like just get it done and be ready for the playoffs. You know what I mean? Anyways, he's the one that's got to play through it. What they're doing is they're moving Garnet Hathaway to the top line with Alex Ovechkin and Evgeny Kuznetsov, and then Alexei Protas to the second line with Nicholas Backstrom. Cole Perfidi staying with Dubois and Connor on the Winnipeg side. I think one guy that seems like I don't want to say a lock because no player is ever a lock in NHL, but Justin Schultz 3K on the power play seems like a guy that probably is going to find his way into a lot of lineups. But what do you like for forwards here, Josh?
I don't even like stacking Washington 5-on-5 when their lines are right, but like Garnet Hathaway on the top line, that second line makes no sense to me. The third line at least is nice. It could be a decent filler. Ovechkin, Kuznet.
I agree with you, but like Jake made fun of me in our chat this morning. They might combine for 16 minutes here tonight. That is a real problem.
Yeah. So like Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, they have a massive sample again together, but it's not that great. Like 51% shot share, 2.6 expected goals for. You adding Garnet Hathaway, those numbers have to go down, not up. Like, you know what I mean? Like Backstrom, Wilson, they have a fairly sizable sample together. 50% shot share, 2 expected goals for. Like this team is just not good 5-on-5. Now, on the flip side, what do we always talk about with the Winnipeg Jets? Their penalty kill's trash. It's gotten a little bit better this year, but it's still middle of the road. And if you take 4 or 5 penalties, like 3, 4, 5 penalties against the Capitals, they're going to score. You see all these pictures every game. Ovechkin power play goal, and he's wide open by himself, sitting at the dot. Like it happens all the time. So if you're going to do anything, I think with the Caps, it's a power play stack. Like you can do Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Wilson, Schultz, Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Schultz, even just 3-man. Or you want a full power play stack, I think that's fine. But like 5-on-5, there's nothing I'm going to full stack on the Capitals. It's just like these lines are just almost as bad as the Senators. So I'm going to power play stack the Caps here. And then on the Winnipeg side, I like both of these top 6 lines here. I think just from an ownership perspective, I'm going to go down to that second line. Like Ovechkin and Kuznetsov, they've been pretty good defensively this season compared to how they were a few seasons ago. They would just get run over. Like they've been pretty good. So if it's a personal preference, you guys, if you like Kopp, Scheifele, Ehlers, go for it. I think Ehlers is going to get bumped down to the second power play unit with, Perfetti, Lowry, and a couple defensemen. I think the top unit is going to be Kopp, Scheifele, Dubois, and Connor, if I had a guess. So, the power play correlation isn't great there, but that line is pretty good 5-on-5. Like, Connor and Dubois have been very good this season. Cole Perfetti, we had, a PowerPoint presentation on him when he made his debut. So, I think, he's still min priced. So, I think I'm going to go to Winnipeg 2 here just because the ownership is less than Scheifele. But if you want to play Winnipeg 1, that's perfectly fine. I'm fine with both Winnipeg top 6 lines.
The thing that's really keeping me away from Winnipeg here is Washington doesn't take a ton of penalties, right? Yeah. And their penalty kill is pretty good. Like, it's that combination that's really, really keeping me away from Winnipeg because I do like Cole Perfidi playing with Dubois and Connor. Like you said, our power play presentation was very convincing last week as to why we should be playing Cole Perfidi. And he is a good player, but like I said, I don't think this is a very good special teams matchup for Winnipeg. And I think that's where they do a lot of damage. It's like Washington. They really want a good special teams matchup. So I'm not super stoked on Winnipeg here. I'm not going to say no if anybody wants to play them, but it's not like they're coming in low owned either. Top line at 12% and the second line at 7%. Like, that's not low for 8 games on the road. You know what I mean? In a game where they're underdogs, not to mention. So I kind of like the Washington side of things here. I want to mention the Washington power play because you did bring up how the Winnipeg penalty kill is kind of like middle of the road. I think Nicholas Backstrom being back is pretty important for that power play. If you look at their numbers over the last 2 years, the Washington power play scores about 3 fewer goals per 60 minutes when Ovechkin's on the ice with anybody other than Nicholas Backstrom. Like 3 goals per 60 minutes is a lot. Like that's basically the difference between an elite power play and a middle of the road power play. And I think Backstrom being back could help. So I think some sort of, Backstrom, Ovechkin, Schultz or something like that can definitely work out here. I like the Washington power play spot. I think Schultz and Ovechkin in particular do make a lot of sense. Again, not a whole lot for me from the Winnipeg side. Again, it's just the fact that it's not a great special teams matchup. And, do I go after, the second line with Perfidi or the top line with Andrew Kopp? Like it just doesn't feel like something like I want to attack, especially when I look at that ownership. So for me, it's about the Washington power play.
And despite like these lines, like Washington's a very good defensive team and they play at a slow pace.
Yeah. And Washington's been a good defensive team all year with all the injuries. So, I'm not too worried about them missing TJ Oshie or something like that. On the blue line, obviously we mentioned Justin Schultz. I think in net, Connor Hellebuck obviously makes a lot of sense at his price as well. He's priced down on DraftKings, relatively cheap, 7,300. Anybody on the blue line or in net here?
Justin Schultz is really about it. Like, I guess Josh Morrissey at 3,600 is okay, but that's about it. And I agree with you with Hellebuck at 7,300. That's a very interesting price. I do worry a little bit about shot volume 5-on-5 for the Caps, though.
Yeah, me too. I'm just thinking he's best goalie on the slate or one of the best goalies on the slate is 7,300. That's kind of my only thought process there. All right, let's move it along. New York Islanders 3.0 implied goal total going into Philly. The Flyers have a 2.4 implied goal total. This is a replay of a game yesterday. Both these teams are on a back-to-back. The Islanders won yesterday 4-1 in New York. Today they are in Philly. It's going to be Carter Hart against Semyon Varlamov, I believe, because I think yesterday it was Sorokin against Jones. I talked about Claude Giroux in my Power Plays article. That Philly one line is priced down super cheap, but obviously that entire Philly team is just on a huge skid right now. But it is a back-to-back, so it's kind of tough to pin down what might happen here. What do you think is going to happen, Josh?
Is there a worse team to try to predict than the Islanders? Like,
no, there's not. It's frustrating.
Barzal Lee yesterday was getting like Jerry Mayhew, who's like, I don't even know who that is. Like, that's a Tom Cruise character in that football movie. And like, they had one shot on goal yesterday. That line, one.
And that's at home against a bad Flyers team.
And it was like a weak little limp wrister from the point. Anyway. Okay, I like going back to Islanders' second line here because the Drew Atkinson line is probably going to get the Barzal Lee line. And then that just frees up just really good matchups for that second line on the Islanders, Beauvillier, Nelson, Bailey. They're coming in at 1-2%. They're super cheap. They're fully correlated on the power play. Carter Hart's in that, obviously the better goalie for the Flyers, but like the Flyers have just been dreadful defensively. They're just a mess. 3 total on the road. They are back-to-back, but like, going from New York to Philly really isn't, and that game was just dreadful. So like everyone's probably, well rested. Nothing really happened. So, I mean, like, I don't mind going back to the Islanders second line tonight, especially at that ownership. And I see, 2.4 total at home and 15% on the Flyers top line. Just like, okay, yeah, their prices are really good, and they're correlated, but like, are they going to do anything? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that like at that ownership, at that price, it's definitely an option in MME. 1-3, like I just can't get there. 2.4 total at home, back to back. I just, I need to see something out of the Flyers before I just start jamming him in lineups again. They've just been dreadful for so long now. So you want to play Flyers 1? That's fine. I'm not going to get there in 1-3. If I was building 20 to 150, I definitely have some. But, Islanders 2, Flyers 1. But that's, really bad. Maybe some Van Riemsdyk one-offs at 2,800 power play 1. But I'm just grasping at straws here.
Yeah, like I want to play that Philly top line 12,700, but they're coming in. We're going to talk about Vancouver in the very next game. They're coming into the same ownership, and top line from Vancouver is a little bit more expensive, but virtually the same top two and much less ownership than that Vancouver line. There's another line in this game, the Islanders line, second line on the other side, relatively same price, like a fraction of the ownership. And like, I get why you would attack the Islanders here. They're not very good. The penalty kill, we talk about the Islanders penalty kill a lot over the last, year or so. It has improved since earlier in the season, but it's not like they're elite or anything. And all right, I'm gonna back up for a sec. I'm gonna say that I really do like Flyers one here tonight, but I think there's enough reason to just outright fade them. Like you said, this team is bad, and they have been for a while now. And the top line at their best is like 50 or 51% shot share. And you're going to tell me that a break-even top line, I don't care what their price is coming in at double their ownership that they should be. Like, I think that's a pretty easy fade. Obviously, if you're playing 150 lineups or whatever, you don't outright fade anything. But, if you're in 1 to 3, I think it's pretty easy to say no to Flyers one here tonight. It's really the Islanders side that I like. But again, we're looking at bad lines. Like, I talk about that Islanders second line coming in at much lower ownership. They've also been They've been 43% shot share over the last 7 weeks. Like, what are we even talking about here? So, like, I think if you're playing anything out of this game tonight, you just kind of have to accept you're going to play a bad line and just go with it. So, honestly, I'm just going to pick the Islanders second line as my bad line to play out of this game. They're coming in, like I said, relatively same price as Philly, 1 and a fraction of the ownership. So Islanders 2 for me in this game. On the blue line, honestly, there's just not much here. I like Ivan Provorov at 4,500. I guess is fine. I guess it's fine. Like, even 4,500 doesn't really speak to me about anything. Cam York 2,700 running the top power play for Philly, I guess. Anything else?
Yeah, like Cam York normally would have interest, but like I'd rather just play Justin Schultz at 3K.
Exactly.
so like Sanheim maybe if you want to punt, but like then the Islanders side, it's just you're either paying up for Dobson or you're hoping to get lucky with one of these punt D-men. So I'll probably just look elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's look elsewhere. I mentioned Yahoo Fantasy a little bit earlier in the show, and we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you play in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you'd like to speed up the process of getting access, email support@awesemo.com and we'll get you set up. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below, and that can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including the $2,000 NHL Baller tonight and the NFL $250,000 Saturday Baller coming up this weekend, featuring no management fee. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. And I know people have been asking for Yahoo projections and all that. Jake added them last week. So if you do want to give a Yahoo a shot, we now have projections for them.
Yeah, Alex had Jake, trapped in the Awesemo basement until he got that done and pumped it out. And now they're up. He can watch The Bachelor now in fresh air.
Yeah, exactly. He gets to go outside for a little bit. Attaboy. All right, let's get to this next game. Vancouver 2.5 implied goal total. They're going into Nashville. The Nashville Predators have a 3.1 implied goal total. Nashville played last night. Philip Forsberg returned, or yesterday afternoon, I guess. Philip Forsberg returned onto the top line with Matt Duchene and Michael Granlund. On the Vancouver side, Bo Horvat was announced in the COVID protocols. So he's out tonight. Vasily Podkolzin expected to take his spot on the second line. I kind of had interest in Vancouver in that line, a little bit of interest, but that's completely gone now that Horvat's out. I still think there's some stuff to play on the Vancouver side, but what do you like in this game, Josh?
Yeah, Horvat being out, that's kind of like a ripple effect here. Like, I guess you could still like Pettersson, Hoglander, Podkolzin, but like Podkolzin sucks to everyone outside of the Vancouver media.
I mean, I want to say like Podkolzin, like I think he could be kind of like a Connor Garland type, like a shooter type. But the thing is all he is right now is a shooter.
He's a shooter. Yeah.
That's it. And he's not even a great shooter. So
like the thing is, like, I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth. The Nick Cousins, Ryan Johansson, Luke Cunnin line has been good.
Yes, they have.
So what? Okay. Like, okay, you can go back to Nashville 1 here. I think that's perfectly fine. They're positively leveraged here. They're going to get the JT Miller, Besser, Pearson line. Like that Miller, Besser, Pearson line has been pretty good offensively and defensively, probably league average defensively. But like Nashville 1's an elite line. Like, I'm sorry. Like I'll die on that hill when it's Forsberg, Granlund, Duchesne. Like Forsberg, 6,500 seems underpriced for him. You know, Duchesne's a little overpriced, 6,900 is fine. But like, at that price, the price isn't prohibitive. Like Vancouver's a bad team. Their penalty kill is bad. They're fully correlated. You know, the X factor is Demko, but he's been getting lit up recently. This is like the Vancouver Canucks are on I think this is the last game of a road trip. I'm not 100% sure if they have another stop on the way home, but I do really like Nashville 1. Surprise, surprise. But on the flip side, I also like Nashville 1 here, or excuse me, Vancouver 1. Like, they're coming in around the same ownership though, which makes me like Nashville 1 more. Like if you're going to get the top lines going against each other, I'm going to go to the better line and the home team. So I'll probably defer to Nashville 1 there, but like, I don't mind getting to some Miller, Besser, Pearson. It's been their only line above water for a team that's been bad. So I think you can get there in MME, but Nashville 1 for me. If you want to play that second line, like Horvat being out is bad. You know what I mean? Like it forces players out of position. Ryan Johansson's having like a renaissance season. Cousins and Cunnin have been pretty good. Like that line has been pretty good on both ends of the ice. So like honestly, as a filler at 2%, like no issue there. So for me, you know, Nashville top 6 and maybe some Vancouver 1.
Yeah, I'm going to start on the Vancouver side of things here because that is really what drew my attention. It wasn't the Horvat line either. It was Besser and Miller. I wrote up Brock Besser for my Power Plays article today, and this is what's in the article. Tanner Pearson was added to his line, and it's made a remarkable difference over the last 6 weeks. 58% shot share with him and 49% without him. It's translating to more scoring chances and more actual goals scored as well. So that's been a big problem with Vancouver. It hasn't been necessarily generating chances. It's been actually finishing them. And that line is starting to finish them. They're at least above average scoring wise, which is not something you've been able to say about a lot of Vancouver lines at even strength this year. And to get to your point about the Nashville penalty kill, you know, in the top 5, or I guess bottom 5, depending how you look at it, for most time shorthanded over the last 6 weeks, bottom 10 on the penalty kill by Saros. But yeah, by shot attempts and expected goals against, and it's Riddick in net. And that's one thing I want to mention here is that going from Saros to Riddick is like going from Vasilevsky to Brian Elliott. Like it really is a big downgrade. And I don't want to put all my eggs in the goalie basket, but it is a pretty big, like I think Saros is one of the 5 or 6 best goalies in hockey. And if you replace him with anybody that's not one of those 5 or 6 goalies, it's a big downgrade. So I do like that Vancouver, Besser, and Miller line. You know, you want to power play stack them and throw in some Quinn Hughes because Nashville does take so many penalties and they won't have Saros in net. I think that's just fine as well. I agree with you on the Nashville top line. You know, they are one of the elite lines in the NHL. I agree with you. We're getting good leverage on them. You know, one of the better leverage spots by our top stacks tool. So I agree with you on that Nashville top line. So Nashville top line plus the Besser and Miller line for me on the Vancouver side. On the blue line, I mentioned Quinn Hughes. If you want to, power play stack, I don't really know if there's anybody else from the Vancouver side. On the Nashville side, I mean, with Fabro and Ekholm out, Yossi's going to play a ton of minutes, presumably, right? So I think 8,200 Yossi as a one-off is just fine. Anybody else?
Yeah, that's about it. I'll echo your sentiments there.
All right. And maybe some Alex Carrier. He might get some secondary power play minutes.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this next game. Montreal, 2.1 implied goal total going into Dallas. The Dallas Stars have a 3.4 implied goal total. Jason Robertson was skating this morning for Dallas, but they said he's not going to be playing tonight. So Jason Robertson not on the Dallas top line tonight. It's going to be Jacob Peterson instead. Peterson actually played up the lineup a little bit earlier in the season when Jason Robertson was injured. So there is a sample there. On the Montreal side, I don't think there's really a lot that we have to talk about here. They changed their lines up a little bit towards the end of the game yesterday against Arizona. But again, like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to have a game day skate or anything from them. I'm not sure it would even really matter that much. I will say, I think there's something on the Montreal side that might intrigue me, but I'll let you talk about this game first.
Yeah, why is Josh Anderson a center on DraftKings? That dude I don't think he's ever played center in the NHL. Anyway.
I don't think he has.
Yeah.
So.
Well, okay, so there's a small sample on Peterson on the top line. It's 30 minutes, but the expected goals is almost 5. And it's Montreal, and they're bad. I wish Peterson was on the top power play because that would just be awesome. He actually might end up being there because there was what did the coach say? He said if Denis Gurianov is having breathing issues, Joel Kiviranta will move up to the second line.
That's something I should have mentioned too. Denis Gurianov coming off the COVID list, and apparently he's having breathing problems. So the coach said he may not be able to go here tonight. So that's another questionable question mark. Go ahead.
Yeah, because Dennis G. Would probably be on power play 1, but if he can't go, I would imagine Jacob Peterson sees that time. So that top line for Dallas coming in around 7% against Montreal it's pretty spicy. I don't think people really know who Peterson is. Kind of like last year when no one really knew who Robertson was until that big GPP with 100K to first, and Robertson had 4 assists, and then he showed up on the map for everybody. But if you're going to tell me I can get Dallas 1 at a discount because Robertson's probably would have been 7K, Peterson's min price, he's not some third wheel like Tyler Ennis. Sorry, Mr. Ennis, but yeah. So you get the discount there. They're 16-9 to full stack coming in at 7% against one of the worst teams in the NHL. I think there's a case just to play them there. That's really about it on the Dallas side. I don't want to play, Ben Sagan either with Gurianov or Kiviranta. I wish Arturi Lehkonen was on the line that was going to see them because their defensive numbers are absolute trash. So I would imagine, because now Cole Caulfield's on the COVID list too. So I don't even know who's going to get the Ben Gurianov matchup, but or the Ben Sagan matchup. That's where I'd have interest on Montreal. I'm not 100% sure who gets that matchup. If you want to go to the Montreal top line, they're coming in at almost no ownership. They're fully correlated. Jake Ottinger isn't very good. Dallas doesn't strike me as an elite team. And if they play bad, it's just brutal hockey. But Montreal 1 coming in under 1% fully correlated, I think you can take some stabs even in 20 max. That's
the line I wanted to bring up was Montreal 1. We have them at a 2.4% top stack coming in at under 0.5% ownership. This line's going to come in under 1% here tonight. And Suzuki and Hoffman have been good in their sample together. I mean, good relatively speaking. This is a Montreal team. Good on Montreal is a 51 or 52% line, and that's what they've been. So I think Hoffman, Suzuki, Anderson, I agree with you. Absolutely in 150. I think you're going to want to get, maybe 2 or 3% of them. They're going to be in consideration for me in my 20 max. I won't have a ton. I'm not going to come out with 30% Montreal 1 here, but I might have them in 1 or 2 lineups. Absolutely. They're at the very minimum going to be in consideration for me. They do have decent numbers. Josh Anderson as a center, that's just, it's kind of tough to stack on DraftKings, but it is what it is.
Hilarious.
On the Dallas side, they are good with Peterson, but that Dallas top line really needs Jason Robertson, I think. If you look at their numbers without him over the last two seasons, just, generally speaking, 41% of the scoring chances. Now, those numbers come up with Peterson. It's actually closer to like 46, 47%, but it's still not great. And I get that the ownership here is a little bit in check. I wonder if it doesn't come up with more runs through the day. So I'll say right now, I do have interest in both top lines, just not a significant amount of interest. They're definitely going to be in consideration as filler stacks for my 120 or for my 20 max. I just don't know, if they're going to either is necessarily going to be something like a core piece. On the blue line, these defense prices are really getting out of control for Dallas. Like John Klingberg, 6,300 for 20 minutes a night feels like a lot. Miro Heiskanen, 6,900, I guess is passable if you're one-offing him. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just overpriced for me. Even Suter at 5K is crazy. There's nothing really on the Montreal side that I want to play. Like maybe Esselindale 4,800. I don't know. Like there aren't many games I like defensemen, and this isn't one of them for sure.
Yeah, not a lot of defensemen for me either. We do have an Awesemo Hall of Fame here at awesemo.com where we do celebrate most of our winners. And if you'd like to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame, this is how you can do it. You download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. You place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, and then you tweet the wins to the Awesemo HOF account. That's Awesemo HOF on Twitter. And if you do all that, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You'll see some of the winners pop up on your screen. Kyle Whipple split first in DK Showdown on Saturday night. You'll see Kellen Bader taking down the quarter jukebox in the NBA for $100. That'll get you into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. You see Sean Jeezy take down second in the 444 as well. All those things can get you into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Just make sure you have at least 5,000 contestants and you place in the top 3 with the Awesemo avatar. Send those screenshots in. All right, we have a couple games left to get to. Just want to make sure everybody in chat has given us a thumbs up and click that subscription button to help us look good for our bosses. Make sure you click the notification bell to get alerts whenever we do go live on the air. All right, let's get to this next game. We have Florida going into Calgary. Florida with a 3.5 implied goal total. Calgary with a 3.0 implied goal total. I think there's 8 goals between these two. There's like 8 goals and 90 shots or something between these two teams when they faced off a couple weeks ago. A high total on both sides here, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, and Calgary at home, they send out the top line against bottom 6. So, like, this ownership is very in check for me. Like, it worries me that I just am missing something here because they should be one of the more higher owned lines of the night. Like, this game is going to be crazy. Like, the game in Florida was crazy, but like also the scorekeeper was on like amphetamines or something, just giving everyone block shots. He was like Oprah, just throwing block shots all over the place. So like, I don't know. I wouldn't expect a 12 shot on goal, 6 block shot game from Blake Coleman again, but like realistically, like he's going to participate in the festivities at 3,300. Like Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman, so cheap. So good. Like that line has been ridiculous. And yeah, they're going to get the Barkov matchup, but like, so like I dropped that in chat earlier today and you're just like, and like their Corsi numbers are like 66%. Like it's just ridiculous. For that price, I think you can definitely Definitely have some Calgary 2 here, but my favorite line in the night on the Calgary side is Calgary 1, coming in 8%, going against bottom 6 matchups of the Flyers. Like, I feel like I'm missing something, but they're fully correlated. They have great numbers together. They have a long sample together. Like Anton Lundell, Frankie Vetrano, whoever is with them, in theory is a pretty decent line, but like, it's not Barkov, it's not Sam Bennett, Huberdeau, you know what I mean? Like, that Lindholm, Kachuk, Gaudreau line should do what they want with the Flyers or the Florida Panthers bottom 6. So I really like Calgary 1. I like Calgary 2. And then on the why do I keep saying Flyers? On the Panthers side, they have an even higher total. Like, they have a 3.5 on the road, and they're coming in. They're like the highest owned line right now is like 3.5%. So, I'd probably go to Florida 2 here. Surprise, surprise. But like, they're going to avoid that back on line. They're going to get Monahan, who isn't that great. So I do really like Florida 2 here. Bennett's price has come down to 5,700. He was in the 7s for a while there. Huberdeau is still really expensive, but like 7,100 is fine for him. Duclair's been a scoring machine on that line. They're coming in at 3%. So Florida 2, Calgary 1, Calgary 2. If you want to play Florida 1, that's fine, but they're probably my 4th favorite line in this game.
Yeah, Florida 2 is like, I hate how we keep saying play Florida 2, play Florida 2. But Florida 2 definitely in play for me again here. Their numbers have been really, really good together. 69 shot attempts and 49 scoring chances per 60 minutes, controlling about 59% of the scoring chances in their minutes. And if they do get that Calgary third line as a matchup, like Lucic, Monahan, Dubé, like probably a 50% line, give or take, which actually isn't bad for a third line. Just not good enough to deal with that Florida 2. So I do like Florida 2 once again here tonight. I think this is a Calgary 1 game for me, though. We have them as one of the better leverage lines on the entire slate. If you look at our top stacks, actually the best leverage line on the entire slate. They're a little over 20K. They're not super prohibitive. They're not that 24 or 25K range like Colorado 1 or something like that. So I do like Calgary 1 a lot in this game. Florida 2. On the blue line, Mackenzie Weegar sticks out to me. A little bit of a price drop from Aaron Ekblad, but I think it might be Weegar or Shillington. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree on Weegar. I agree on Shillington. That price is good. Like, I'd rather play him over Rasmus Anderson. Like, Rasmus Anderson just doesn't shoot. Shillington has the perif, so yeah, I agree there. Forsling, I think, is fine at 3,600. Good ass. Our boy is fine. Even Tanev at min price is a decent punt. So, like, surprisingly, there are a couple punt defensemen that I like in this game.
Yep. There are some defensemen, and a high pace, high total game is probably a good spot to grab your defenseman anyway. One game left to get to. Before we get to it, we do have some shows coming up over the rest of the day to help you guys out with some NBA. We have the No House Advantage NBA strategy show coming up in about 30 minutes with Eitan and Terry, and then your NBA double dose starts at 5 Eastern with Laffy and Adam, followed by Eric and Greg doing the live before lock. Tampa Bay 3.3 implied goal total going into Los Angeles. The Kings have a 2.3 implied goal total. I'm going to tell you, as long as they keep having that Samuel Fagemo guy on the top line, I have absolutely no interest in Kings 1. And in fact, as long as they're going to go into Tampa 1, which they are probably going to do here tonight, I like Tampa 1 here, almost regardless of who they put on that Kings top line. So Kucherov, Point, Perry for me. Who do you like out of this game?
Yeah, I think our boy Sammy F is a placeholder for Andres Athanasiou. I think I saw him practice today.
Okay. Well, I mean, Athanasiou, it's the same thing. He's just not
it's the same thing. Yeah. He's probably worse. Like, he might be the worst defensive forward in the NHL. So, like, it's probably worse. But the point stands. Yeah, Tampa 1 for me. Their ownership's fine. Like, Corey Perry, whatever. Like, he's actually been pretty decent this year despite being 312 years old. So, like, you can throw him in at 2,900. I think it's fine. Like, Sorelli, Kolar, and Stamkos line has not been great, which kind of gives me interest in Kings too. They're just so cheap, the Kings tonight. So, like, that second line I do have some interest in Danault, more Arvidsson. Like, their numbers are ridiculous. They're getting the better matchup on Tampa. It's still Vasilevsky, so it does worry me a little bit, but like, they're just generating so much that I think, in MME, you can take some stabs. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to them in 1 to 3. I haven't, really decided yet, but if anything on the Kings, it'll be Kings 2, Tampa 1, or even, you want to leave off Perriad and Killorn or leave off Perriad and Stamkos. I think that's fine.
Yeah, for me, it's probably going to be Tampa 1 out of this game. The Kings, their penalty kill is good, but they are taking a lot of penalties, so I will rely on a great Tampa power play. All right, we got to get out of here. Josh, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies. My hat trick pick for tonight, I'm going to go a little spicy. I'm going to go Anthony Duclair. And my goalies are going to be Thatcher Demko, Connor Hellebuck, Frederick Anderson. Who you got?
Yeah, I like Demko. I like Hellebuck. Yeah, their goalie's just a mess. And my hat trick pick is going to be Matthew Tkachuk.
Matthew Tkachuk? All right, I like that. We do have to get out of here for Josh and for his little buddy beside him, for our producer, Tyler Zander.
Bye.
Just want to say good luck tonight, everybody, and we'll see you again on Thursday.